So Gimbal Lock is something that happens in all 3D software. Now, it can be hard to fully understand Gimbal Lock, even though you're affected by it. And sometimes you'll just find that you're in Gimbal Lock and you're not sure why you're there or how to get out. So all controllers will have Gimbal Lock at some point. And I'll show you here that if we rotate this 90 degrees up, and if we now see these rotational values as I start rotating freely this controller, you can see this is where it's going a bit crazy. I'm doing very tiny rotations on the 3 axes here, and you see it's doing big jumps and flips around over here. So we basically entered Gimbal Lock. Now, one thing is you can double click on the rotation tools and switch to gimbal. Now, if I try to grab and rotate this guy, it's not going to do that crazy flipping anymore. But at the same time, it does not have the ability to rotate on this axis anymore. Let's just go back quickly to show you. See here, I have the ability to rotate in this direction. If you go to the gimbal mode, you see it's completely gone. What used to be this axis is now aligned with one of the other axes. So using the gimbal option in the rotation tool avoids the channels doing crazy flips, but also it takes away your ability to rotate in the axis that is gimbal locked. All right, that was a quick Gimbal Lock introduction. Now let's talk about what we're actually meant to talk about here, which is the Gimbal Lock visualizer to help you realize where are the gimbal locks for any given controller. There's a Gimbal Lock visualizer, and you can turn that on by selecting the controller and go into display, Gimbal Lock. What we get here is, turn on joints for a sec. We now got this thing, which is 3 axes, 1 red circle, green cones, and a yellow arrow. And basically, it's telling you where you're going to run into trouble. And the trouble is going to come when the yellow arrow enters the green cone. So you can see that here we're going to be fine in the default rotation on the elbow here. But if the elbow were to rotate up here, and the yellow arrow is getting close to or entering the green cone, we are now in trouble zone. So this, of course, for the elbow is not a big problem because we've configured the rotation order so that the gimbal does not happen on the usual rotation axis. But 3 degrees of freedom controllers, such as the shoulder, it's not as easy because we are going to want to rotate in this direction and this direction. So you can now see that if you are going to rotate up, you're going to run into trouble. Now, by the way, one quick way to work with this and work around it is to use the extra controller. So if you know you're about to do some animation where the shoulder is pointing straight up, just hit the up key on your keyboard to get to the extra controller, apply the rotation where it's going upwards on that controller, and then go back to doing your main animation on the controller itself. So that's just showing you that you can use this extra controller to set your gimbal free range. That's it, and I'll see you next time.